How's it, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of my racket collection right here on OpenCourt. So on today's racket collection, I want to introduce a racket that I picked up recently that I've been playing with and I'm really loving it. And that is the Prince Textreme Phantom 100X 18x20. So the Prince Phantom line is relatively new. I believe they came out with the first edition of the Phantoms sometime, I think 2016, somewhere around there. But this racket series, the Phantom, is known as a Renaissance racket in many ways because this is one of the most flexiest, bendy, thin beamed rackets on the market, and they just don't make rackets like these anymore. A lot of rackets these days, like the Pure Drive or the Yonex E-Zone, they're getting thicker and stiffer to focus more on providing easy power. The Phantom series are all known for their really thin beams, and so these are very flexy, they bend a lot, so they're very comfortable, they have buttery smooth feel, and also great control. So the Phantom 100X series is the second generation in the Phantom lineup. Prince just released their newest editions, generations of the Phantom. From what I looked at though, it seems as if this particular one, the 100X 18x20, has not received an update. They've made a few different ones, including a 107, which is pretty interesting. But as far as I know, the 100X 18x20 has not received an update. So what is Textreme? It's basically Prince's version of their dampening system, which other manufacturers have different names for. Prince's Textreme includes a material called Twaron, which is very famous if you guys know about the legendary head PT57A, which a lot of professionals use, or the head Pro Tour 630 or the 280S as it was called in the United States. That was a very popular racket, and that also included the Twaron dampening material. And they've included this in the Prince Phantom series right here at the 10 and 2 o'clock positions in the upper hoop for a little bit more dampening and a little bit more stability and control. So let's take a quick look at the specs of the Prince Phantom 100X 18x20. You'll notice that the beam is very thin and it's tapered from the tip of the head to the throat. The first generation 100X 1820 had an even thinner beam and was extremely flexible. I never used the first edition, but from what I heard, a lot of people thought that racket was a little bit too soft. It just did not feel right. The flex felt a little bit off, and so Prince has thickened the beam just a little bit for the second generation to give it a little bit more power, a little bit more feel. But it is still a 100 square inch 1820, so you have a pretty generous sweet spot along with a tight string pattern that gives you the phenomenal control paired with that thin beam. Also, it's a 320 gram unstrung weight with a 305 millimeter balance, and paired with the ultra thin aerodynamic beam means this thing swings extremely fast through the air. So I got this racket recently at a pretty good bargain price, and I've been playing with it a lot, and it has become one of my favorite rackets in my collection, easily top 5. And so let's start with the pros of the Prince Phantom 100X 1820. So the Prince Phantom 100X 1820, as I alluded to before, just has a buttery smooth feel, and it's very flexible. They just don't make rackets like this anymore. It's been many years since I've actually played with a racket with this kind of a response, and it's very easy on the arm. If you guys have tennis elbow or arm issues or sensitive wrists or shoulders, the Phantom line, not just this 1821, but all the Phantoms are known for their flexible and smooth feel, and it'll help you to protect your arm. Because the racket bends so much, the Phantom has great dwell time. If you don't know what dwell time is, it's just the amount of time that the racket sits on the string bed before it deflects off. This dwell time allowed me to really feel the ball on the racket, and because of that I got great touch and great feel, especially on the drop volleys and the drop shots. I was able to just loosen my grip and just use the momentum from my opponent's shot and drop it into the service box with great feel. The Phantom series really conforms to my playstyle in terms of the touch because of its unique flex. Also, I was very pleasantly surprised that the Phantom 100X wasn't extremely dead in terms of the power level. I thought that I would have to just swing extremely hard to even get the ball deep in the court, but that wasn't the case at all. The Prince has thickened the beam a little bit for this generation, which I think was a good idea, but because of its fast feeling swing and its incredible dwell time, it actually packed a little bit more punch than I expected. But don't get me wrong, it's not a pure drive, it's not going to help you hit winners. It's just it was a little bit more powerful than I expected, just a little. Also, the headlight balance was very good for me. It's a 320 gram unstrung 305 millimeter balance. I like balances that are sub 310 because it helps with maneuverability at the net for those reaction volleys where I need to react to my opponent's shots really quickly. It also allows me to carve up the court with the slices, and especially on the kick serve, being able to accelerate from behind my head with a headlight balance is what I look for, and the Prince Phantom 100X 1820 definitely gave me that. Also, it got a pretty decent amount of spin for an 1820 because of that thin beam. It's very aerodynamic and it swings very fast because of its headlight balance. I was able to hit better, more topspin kick serves with this Phantom than I could with my Speed Pro, which is the racket that I usually use. Both the Phantom 100X 1820 and the Speed Pro have 100 square inch 1820 string patterns, but the Phantom definitely swung faster, which resulted in a little bit more spin generation. And lastly, because of that thin beam and the 1820 string pattern, this racket got great control. I was able to take huge cuts from the baseline, and I could stay on the gas, which is what I like to do. I like to be aggressive. I like to serve and come up to the net. I like to aim for corners from the baseline, and this racket gave me that control, and I really think that a lot of advanced players will enjoy the Phantom 100X 18x20. Now, getting into the cons of the Prince Phantom 100X 1820, there isn't much. The only con for me is that I said earlier that it was a little bit more powerful than I was expecting, but it is still definitely on the lower end of the power spectrum. And so for me in singles, I had a hard time passing people. I had a hard time setting up my shots to be able to approach the net and put it away. I definitely like this racket better in doubles where I'm already standing at the net, or I can serve and come up to the net and hit a first volley deep into the court to try and keep pushing up. I just couldn't really do that in singles. Also, if I was ever caught out of position or forced to play defense, I wasn't able to convert defense to offense as easily as I could with like the Speed Pro or something that has just a little bit more help in power, and my opponent could keep pressuring me, which is why I didn't enjoy this racket in singles as much as I liked it in doubles. I definitely love it in doubles. So if you're looking for a little bit more help, I think that the Phantom 100X 1820 would definitely benefit from lower tension, or I would love to string it with a natural gut in the mains with the poly and the cross to get a little bit more help in power, especially on the flat and the slice serve and those defensive shots where I want to be able to return the ball deep to transition from defense to offense. Lastly, who is the Prince Phantom 100X 18x24? Well, it's a very specific niche of players. It's definitely geared for advanced players. It's on the control side. It's not going to give you any free power. And so if you're still a beginner, I don't recommend this racket because it doesn't give you much help, but it is very, very soft. And if you are an advanced player that has some arm issues and also are looking for more control in your game, the Phantom series, any of the Phantoms, but especially the 100X 18x20 will give you that control and be able to protect your arm. And the thin beam and the unique flex will give you great touch on slices, on drop shots and volleys. I really think the Phantom 100X 1820 is geared towards the advanced players, and most advanced players that I know of will love the Phantom series. They just don't make rackets like this anymore. The Phantom is a unique line, plus the cosmetic looks beautiful, honestly, and so I highly recommend it. If you haven't tried it yet, please check out the Prince Phantom line of rackets. Thank you for watching another edition of my racket collection, introducing the Prince Phantom 100X 18x20 right here on OpenCourt. I started a blog recently which talks more in depth about this racket and other rackets and strings that I've reviewed, so please check that out. I'll leave a link to the blog down below, as well as a link to my written review of the Prince Phantom. If you guys like this content, be sure to overhead smash that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on an OpenCourt.